So much, Nitin. Hello, everyone. Can everyone, if you're comfortable, please enable the video, if you're comfortable, of course. Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. Now, there is a last sentence which Nitin used, writing for public speaking. Nitin, I'll go out. You just keep introducing me. That's enough. That is the example of writing for public speaking, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not exaggerating, or I'm not saying that it's purely because of an introduction that he has written for me. Oh yeah, I'm definitely flattered and very happy. I just want that to go on and on and on and on. But the fact of the matter is, what we use in our speeches makes a difference. As a listener, when I'm being introduced, it made a difference to me, the way I feel, the way I am emoting on stage now. At the same point in time, what we use in our own speeches makes a difference to our listeners, whether it is one person or in public. So that is exactly what public speaking all about, or what impact it will have on the listeners. So the next few minutes, what we're going to do is very simple. Unmute ourselves and shout out the word that comes to our mind when I say public speaking. Okay, all of you can unmute and shout out the word that comes to your mind when I talk about public speaking.
Connect.
Connect.
Communicate.
Communicate.
Express.
Express. Okay.
Influence.
Influence. I see crowd on the chat box. Thank you, Sobaji. Anything else? Go on.
Making an impact.
Making an impact, creating an impact. Absolutely. What else?
Attention.
I'm sorry, come again.
Attention.
Attention, and in fact, tension as well. Come on. No doubt about it. What else? The connect. Absolutely. See, there are a lot of words that we associate ourselves when it comes to public speaking. Are these true? Definitely yes, because there are our feelings, and one thing which we have to respect as members is to respect our feelings when it comes to whatever we are doing. And public speaking is one of the activities that we would do in a Toastmasters Club meeting. Now, when Minnie started off with her session, there was a beautiful story that she used. When Joe started off his address, there was a beautiful story that he used. When Nitin started off with his specific address as a Toastmaster of the day, there is a story that he used as well. So there are a lot of aspects when it comes to public speaking. So now one thing which I'm really tempted to do right now is when I'm starting off my session, I really want to use a story as well. Do you all love stories? Yes? Who doesn't love stories? We have grown up listening to stories, isn't it? So one thing that really counts, thank you, Minnie, for raising the hand. One thing that really comes to my mind is this little experience that I had about a few years ago. Let's say it was about, I think, 2015, 14. Yeah. So I was driving back from work, and this was a really crowded well, Bangalore, I stay in Bangalore, and it's very, very crowded. The traffic jam is horrible. So I was driving back from work. It was a very pleasant evening in December. And I parked my car waiting for the signal to turn green. As I was waiting for the red to turn green, I saw this old lady dressed in a gray sari walking from one car to another car, and then to a bike, and then to a car, asking for some money. Of course, I was wondering why a person would ask, obviously to cater to her own needs, which she had. So I checked out my purse. I had a few coins on me and then handed it over to her. She gladly accepted my contribution, and then she moved from my vehicle to the next one. The signal turned green. I went back home. The same thing continued for several weeks. I started noticing her every single day, or in certain cases, most of the days I can mention it. But there was one specific day where I did not have money on me. I had a packet of biscuits. At the end of the day, why would anyone ask for money to take care of our hunger by default, isn't it? So I offered her a packet of biscuits. She declined it. She walked away from my car. I was surprised. Why would anyone deny when you offer them food? You need money to buy some food. You need food to survive at the end of the day, isn't it? I was wondering what could the reason be. Sometime later, there was a cop that who was standing right at the traffic signal who also mentioned when I was about to offer her money. He mentioned that don't offer her money, sir. She takes this money to buy tobacco to chew. And a couple of days back, she was fallen unconscious in the shop nearby. I was shocked when I heard the cop say this. Was this the reason why she was getting money from me or from any other person who was there at the traffic signal? I was shocked. I felt ashamed about it. I let it be, but I cursed myself for contributing for such a cause. I let this particular feeling go away. A few more days later, I wanted to test her. So I offered her biscuits once again, which obviously she denied. But this time she did not just walk away from my car, but she also spoke. She said, "Sir, I'm very old. You see, these biscuits are very hard to chew. I cannot do that. And that's the reason why I'm not taking this particular biscuit as well." What? Was this the reason? I had not known the background of this particular woman, but still, I had actually been judgmental about her not taking biscuits when I offered it to her. Ladies and gentlemen, when you listen to this particular, I would say, anecdote or a story, a small story, what was the one message that came to your mind? You can unmute and share your views, or you can put it on the chat box, whichever you're comfortable with.
Make any prejudice.
Sorry, Jacob, could you go again? Or was it Jacob or someone else? Jose, yes.
Avoid prejudice. That's the word, right? Prejudice.
Prejudice. Excellent.
I think she don't communicate her needs. That's the person problem.
She didn't communicate her needs well. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Anything else? Don't judge a book by its cover. Absolutely. What else? What else? Go out. There's no correct message or an incorrect message. Whatever comes to your mind is what I want you to share.
Give the other person a chance to explain.
Beautiful. Giving the other person a chance. Wonderful. Thank you, Minnie. Anything else?
Always have soft biscuits.
Always have soft
Biscuits.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Beautiful. And what else?
Sometimes we have to put ourselves on other shoes to
You
understand.
have to put yourselves in other shoes. Excellent. So what is it that comes to your mind when I listen to a story, or when you listen to the story? Was just one question that I asked about one story that I narrated a couple of minutes ago. But every person sitting over here connected with the story in a different fashion. Someone said, don't judge by a book by the cover. Put yourself in another shoes. All these, I would say, connections are true. We listen to a story from where we are as an individual and not as what the other person is actually saying. That's the fact about stories. We listen to anything in our lives from where we are. We listen to individuals' contributions from where we are. We listen to our arguments in our own families and professional lives from where we are. That's the perspective from where we are from. So oftentimes you might have heard people say, what we do is a reflection of who we are as individuals, or what we say also is a reflection of who we are as individuals. Number one thing when it comes to speaking or when it comes to writing is to understand who we are as individuals. First and the foremost thing, ladies and gentlemen, is to understand who you are. Why is it important? When you present yourself the way you are, when you are naked, like what, not literally, but with your emotions, with your, by being as a being, That's when you will be able to earn a credibility to connect with your audience. We spoke about connection. That's what this public speaking is all about. That's the first point. The second point when it comes to speaking is, or rather in writing part of it, is about what to understand or how we would understand what are the different aspects about speaking. Let's take Anu's speech, for example. Now in Anu's speech, can you tell me what was the speech like? What was the speech like? Or what was the speech about? Except for Anu and Anu's evaluator, anyone can talk about it now. Anu, this is another evaluation for you. Yes. What was the speech about? Come on, go ahead.
Actually, the speech is about how the Toastmasters found a solution for the problem of this increasing the members.
Increasing the membership by 20%.
Problem and solution, that is the speech main content.
Absolutely. Absolutely. PR strategies for Kottayam Toastmasters. Absolutely. So if you look at it, there is a core, there is a message that the person wants to share, or there is a purpose that the person wants to achieve. I will come to this particular purpose as my next point, but the first and the foremost point, which is important to understand after considering, or rather after being yourself, is what are you going to talk about? First is you got to be yourself. The next one is what are you going to talk about? How am I going to make my listeners understand? So like Neetu mentioned, am I defining the structure of a speech in the proper fashion? So when Anu was talking about her specific issue, or rather the speech, there was a problem that she defined, and there is a solution that she came up with, and there was strategies that she came up with her team, of course. And that is what has ultimately resulted in club being omnipresent. Omnipresent is a word that she used to add, I can in simple terms add masala to the entire speech. Right? That's what PR is all about. So what the second aspect which is important is to understand the structure of what you are trying to share. When we are sharing in simple terms, what we need to remember, tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you're actually telling them. Tell them what you told them. Can someone repeat what I just told? Come on, try it.
Tell them what you're going to tell them.
Yes.
Tell them
Tell
what
them
you're
what you
telling.
tell them. Tell them
Yes.
what you have told them.
Absolutely. This is all structure is about. In simple terms, how we structure a speech is tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. That's all. It could be a problem solution. It could be a chronological order of events. It could be sequence of different stories, like story 1, story 2, story 3. It could be anything, but this is the structure that we got to, in simple terms, maintain it. Okay. Now, one of the most important things to remember is to have this particular structure in a format of opening body and a conclusion. We'll deal with it later. Nothing to worry about it. But this is the crux of it, like what Joe's mentioned on the chat box. That's the second point. The third, and I would say equally important point, is the purpose of the speech, which I told we'll cover it a little while later. Let's take Mini's speech, for example, in this case. Now, what was Mini's speech's purpose, if you remember, or if you're able to recall? What was she trying to tell you? Or what did she tell you? Shobha, you can unmute and answer.
How to communicate, what's the importance of communication?
Importance of communication, absolutely. Okay.
She actually used her own experience, her life as an example.
Her life as an example. Beautiful. What else? Can you think about what Shobha mentioned? Oh, sorry, what Neetu mentioned. Her own life as an experience. She shared that to communicate whatever the purpose of it. But what was the method that she adopted? When Neetu mentioned she used her own life experience, what was the method or what was there in that particular experience? What do you call that?
Anecdote.
Anecdote, a story. Now, when you're talking about a purpose of a speech, there was a specific purpose in the speech. What did she try to tell you is what Shobha mentioned. Communicate the importance of, or rather inform us regarding the importance of communication. Now that falls under an informative speech. Now, if you look at another extraction of that particular story, there is one more important aspect that she did in her speech. What was that?
Presenting herself as an example, minimum as an example.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Inspire. There is some experience that she went through and her life changed. And what happens there? I know Minnie. She becomes an inspiration to me. I can talk about Mahatma Gandhi. I can talk about Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, any phenomenal leader in the world. But do I know them? I know them. But do I actually know them? Not really. But when Minnie comes and tells me that, hey, boss, I was able to do this, and so can you, she becomes my inspiration. She becomes an inspiration to every other 29 people in this particular meeting. That's important. So the purpose of a speech can be categorized into 4 different manners. When we are thinking about writing a speech, we need to constantly ask ourselves as to what is the message that we are trying to tell and what we are trying to do in that particular speech. So the 4 different purposes in a speech: informative speech, persuasive speech, inspirational speech, and entertaining speech. Any speech that anyone gives can be categorized into these 4 aspects or a combination of these 4 aspects. Now, when Minnie's speech was going on, it's a combination of information about Toastmasters, inspiring, share my story, and then tell that, hey, I was able to do so, can you? Third one, very important, entertaining. How was the speech entertaining? Can someone guess? Neetu already mentioned a part of it. Story, her own experience. Now that becomes the core of any speech, as a matter of fact. So remember to share your story. But how do I really go about writing the story is the biggest question. I'll take an example of what Minnie mentioned in the speech itself. You heard this story about a girl called Maya who has a beautiful smile. Her biggest USP was that. And then there was something that she narrated, and then she went on to say that she would go on to the stage with her tiny pretty frock and she would grin. Her smile flattered her. After a while, it scared her. She started shivering. What happened when she was narrating this entire incident? What was going on in your mind as a listener? Can someone share? What was going on in your mind as a listener?
Waiting to know what happened next. I was basically imagining. It was basically she was writing a script. Right?
She was writing a script. She was narrating the incident. You were eager to know what was happening. Well done, Anand. Anybody else? Come on, go ahead. I can wait all day. Wondering who Maya was. Excellent. Good. Jitin, can you please unmute and state this for me if you don't mind?
When she was saying the story, we are all visualizing how it actually looks like.
Why?
Feels
Why?
like.
I ask you why. What made you visualize the story?
All the narratives that he is saying. She smiles and she wears a box and she stands there like that. And these all images came to our mind.
Absolutely. Why is it important is what we need to understand. See, as human beings, 70 to 80% of of this particular audience itself, if we take, are all visual people. We are comfortable in visualizing what we are able to think. Whatever we think, we visualize. A small portion is auditory. A small portion is kinesthetic. Now, what Mini did is cover all these things. Number one, tiny pretty frogs walked right up to the stage. Smile flattered. There was a silence that's auditory. It scared her. She started shivering. Shivering is an emotion. Scare is a feeling. You see that in one small paragraph, what Mini did connected with every single one of us. I'm pretty sure every single one of us in this audience. And that's the way we write a speech. In 3 simple words, if you need to remember what are the words to use and what are the words that you can lose in a speech, remember to write visual, auditory, and kinesthetic words in your speeches. That is most important. So words such as that creates a picture. Imagine you are like this. I tend to imagine. Can you think about what color that you're let's say what colored shirt that you wore yesterday? It's a visual word. What did your mom say? How did you feel when she spoke to you like this? So the feel, listen, hear, and then see, these kind of words is what we need to comfortably start using in a speech when we want to create that picture. Number one, connect with the audiences at the heart. That's how we are able to connect with the audience. So that is the third aspect which we need to remember when it comes to writing a speech. Now, there is a specific sentence that I used in the speech as well. Words that we choose to use and words that we choose to lose. Now, what is different about this statement? Can anyone tell me what is different about this statement? Did it appeal to you by any chance? If so, why?
Actually, we all want to say in what we have to say in the right time to say. Something like that. I think that's what you mean.
Beautiful. I'll pick the same sentence. We all want to say what we have to say at the right time to say. What did Neetu just do? She played around with the word there. Very simple. Wordplay. Now, the kind of alliterations or analogies that we use, dyads or triads, what are these alliterations or analogies? The words that rhyme in a specific manner that could end in a sentence in a specific, I would say, sound. What happens is it creates it creates a feeling from within saying that, hey, if I want to talk in Nitin's language, it's about the poems. It sounds poetic. Okay, he mentioned about he was not able to understand his own poems or something like that in the initial part of the meeting. But when we are writing like this, why do poets really stand out of the crowd or even the storytellers? As a matter of fact, it's because they love to rhyming words. Exactly. They register very well in our minds. So that's very, very important when it comes to connecting with the audience. So in simple terms, what are the most important aspects to remember how to write a speech? I could divide it into 3 major segments. The number one being natural, being yourself on stage. So understand who you are and be yourself on the stage. At the end of the day, I don't want to meet someone who is not Nitin when I'm talking to him on a one-on-one conversation. Like, okay, were you the same person who was speaking on stage? That's not the question that I want my audience to listen to, or rather ask himself or herself after my speech or talking to me out on the road. That's number one. The second point, which is important, is the structure of a speech. So every point in time, ask yourself these two simple questions. How is this particular content going to add value to my speech? In what way do I make it effective or efficient? That is a simple opening body and a conclusion. It could be structured in a manner that could answer these 3 points. Tell them what you're going to tell them, tell them what you're going to, what you told them, sorry. Third point, which is important, is the actual purpose. A purpose of a speech can be divided into 4 or a combination of these 4. What are these 4 purposes of a speech?
Entertaining,
Entertaining,
informative,
informative,
Inspiring.
inspiring, and
Persuasive.
persuasive. Absolutely. These 4 are combination of these 4. Okay, so this is again the same thing. But when we are writing about all these things, thinking about personal experiences is important. Using writing a story that develops a content like visual, auditory, or kinesthetic words is what we would use to make it better. Now does this mean that if we do all these things, we'll be able to succeed? I have incorporated all these things, Arjun. Why am I not able to write? Why am I not able to share what I wrote? Does this guarantee you is this a formula for success? Not really. But the fact over here is one simple thing. Everything links to practice. When we are able to practice these specific aspects in the way we have written, okay, that is when we'll be able to get a feedback on whatever we have written or whatever we are narrating. So that's one point which I would mention when it comes to the importance of putting all these thoughts together, going through a process of fine-tuning, making it effective and efficient, and then putting it across in terms of practice. Because when we prepare a speech and when we deliver a speech, they're 2 different things. Let's face it. That is when the practice part of it comes into play in terms of effective communication. So irrespective of the fact that you have written a fantastic speech, only when they were able to practice and then present it to an audience, that's when it makes a difference for an effective public speech. Now I'll take a brief pause over here and see if there are any specific questions that we might need to address. And there was one point which I thought of addressing towards the end of the speech as well. Now, are there any questions? Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Arjun, I would like to ask your feedback on how to memorize a speech. The tips.
Okay, I'll ask you a question once again. I love asking questions. Let's rewind, let's say about 15, 20 years. Let's go back into our childhood when you were, about 5, 6 or 7 years old. Did your mother or father ask you to buy something from a store?
Yes,
Yeah. And they gave a list of items, 2, 3 items that you want to buy? Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you memorize that?
That was the day-to-day item. So what comes out first? I used to go and speak out to the shopkeeper.
Absolutely. So you keep repeating it, yeah, in your mind. Okay, this is what it is, this is what it is, this is what it is. After a point in time, what happens? You get it naturally, correct? You tell the same list, okay, I need to buy tomatoes, I need to buy potatoes, I need to buy, let's say, half kg rice. Tomato, potato, rice, tomato, potato, rice. This is something that we used to do as children, to go and buy something. Yeah. After a point in time, okay, this is the list that I need to buy. Automatically, it came into our system. So what is happening? I am not memorizing a specific aspect, but I'm trying to internalize the point. So I'm trying to internalize the things that I need to buy by repeating it once again and again and again and again. So when it comes to a speech, what I would recommend is not memorizing a speech. You internalize a speech. Know your speech so much that you get bored of reading it out again. So that becomes a part of your system. Until that point in time, till you reach there, keep repeating the speech. So it becomes a part of your system. And that is the only reason why I say don't memorize. When you internalize, you are natural on stage. I did not come and tell you that, hey, okay, I want to talk about point 1, I want to talk about point 2, I want to talk about point 3, I want to talk about point 4. But more specifically, these are the points that I want to cover. But when it comes out, what you will be able to do is you are genuine on stage, you're natural on stage. And that's when we create a connection, a better connection to the listeners. So that's what it is. Initial part of your Toastmasters journey, it's absolutely okay to memorize a speech. Trust me, till you get a little comfortable on stage, it's absolutely okay to memorize. After a point in time, you will realize that memorizing a speech is not helping you to grow as a speaker. That's when you start internalizing the speech, internalizing the story. So what I do personally is listen to the story that I write, listen to the speech that I write continuously. So when I'm listening, I'm playing that in my head automatically and becomes a part of my system. So it's a practice that I found effective for me. Maybe if it is effective for you, then it's okay. When I'm driving, I narrate. I put it in the speak mode from my phone, and that just keeps playing on my car. So it just repeats on and on and on. Or sometimes I narrate the entire speech and just play it in my car when I'm listening or when I'm driving, sorry. So over a period of time, it becomes a part of my system. I hope that helps.
Try this.
Absolutely. Anything else? Any other question? Okay, that's awesome. I think this is great. Now, I just want to leave you with a small point which Jose mentioned at the beginning of this particular meeting itself. Jose said that whenever he started to speak, he used to have butterflies in the stomach. Trust me, even after 10 years of being a part of the Toastmasters movement, I still have butterflies in my stomach. I still have those shivers. I just get jittery sometimes. Sometimes I go blank. Sometimes I realize that, hey, is this the point which I really wanted to talk about? It happens. The only thing that the Toastmasters platform does to you is not just have these butterflies in your stomach, but Toastmasters helps you how you can make these butterflies fly in a pattern inside your stomach. And that's what makes a difference when it comes to Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen. So go ahead and practice practice the speeches, whatever that you want to share. Because this, like Nitin mentioned, is a practice ground for what is out there in real life. This platform allows you to fail. When you fail out there, well, there will be critiques. When you fail inside over here, there will still be critics. But those are constructive critics. The critics that want to see you improve. The critics that make a difference to who you are as a person, to whatever you wish to do in your life. That is the reason why I say, ladies and gentlemen, Toastmasters acts as a catalyst from where you are to where you want to go. And that's why it changes your life. Go ahead, change life of every life that is listening to you, be it inside a Toastmasters meeting or outside. Back to you, Toastmaster Mithun.